right, guys, we are back with the latest episode of the Athlete Connection. Really excited, obviously, to meet and speak with our next guest here. But first and foremost, I'm Trey with Tri-Elements Fitness. We have our co-founder, co-advisor, Ray. What's up, Ray? Cool. And our very distinguished former athlete, Anna Hermasillo. Say hey, Anna. Anna.
Hello.
Cool. So I was really looking forward to obviously getting you on because I know, the same way that we have with any of our previous guests, like you definitely have a um, unique perspective. Obviously, the experiences that you went through, obviously within the sport that you play and the college that you obviously attended and graduated from. So again, I always kick off the show just in case we have some new listeners, but I definitely wanted to let everyone know, the purpose of this podcast is to really connect current and former athletes to give them a perspective on, what they might be experiencing or really kind of what to expect when they kind of hit that road themselves or kind of get along that journey. So again, just introduce yourself, let everyone know, who you are, where you're from, what sport you play, what college you attend, all those things, and we'll get right into it.
All right. My name is Anna Hermasillo, and I played softball growing up. It was like my whole life. I had a scholarship to a junior college first in Midland, Texas, Midland College. And then I transferred over on scholarship to Temple University. And I graduated in 4 years. It was really tough because not all my credits transferred, but I did it. That was my goal. And, you know, I'm here today just, living the dream. Everything I worked hard for growing up and in school, like it's here today, right now.
So you started off softball or playing softball. Was that your first sport, or did you play any other sports and just kind of fell into it?
It was my first and only sport. My dad was a World Series champion. He played men's fast pitch softball, so I had no other choice. I was surrounded by softball, and luckily I fell in love with it. It had some bumps around the way. I was burnt out a little bit in high school, burnt out a little bit in college, but I didn't give myself the option to quit because I knew what I wanted in life.
That's that's interesting because we've heard different, I guess, different circumstances or different scenes. You're the first that actually to bring up the point you were burnt out. Explain, can you like delve into like the burnt out mode? Because you said both in high school as well as college. It happens to us, happened to
Yes.
me, it happens to a lot of athletes. So could you break that down for us just a little bit on your
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah. So I started travel ball competitively at 10 years old, and I always played up. So by the time we got to the high school level, in women's softball, high school's kind of like rec ball all over again. It's not very competitive, but you have to play high school in order for the college coaches to see you, and you get a name for yourself, you get some awards, but it's travel ball is where it's at. So um, by the time I graduated high school, I was really eager to get to college, and I went the JC route because my grades weren't there. At that time, it's not the case anymore, but it was heavily relied upon your SAT scores, and my SAT scores were not there. So I had to go the JC route first. I actually cried when I signed because I knew the school I was going to was very strict in a Bible Belt area. And I wanted the experience that all my friends had going to like Florida State and EKU. And we all came together during the summer, and they told me about their experiences and how they partied and stuff like that. And I did not get that experience. That was not the school we were at. We got in trouble if we weren't in the dorms at a certain time. It was kind of like military school, but after I left junior college, I definitely appreciated that experience as an adult today. It built so much character. It was such a test of character and resilience for those 2 years. And then when I went to Temple University, I was burnt out. I called my mom and I said, Mom, I think I just want to come home. And she goes, I'm not going to let you. I will not let you come home. You've came this far. And I kind of had a come to Jesus moment with myself. And I was like, you know what? God gave me this talent. And not many people have this opportunity in life. And, just all the stars aligned. I had talent, um, and I had the right people in my life and the means to foster my skills. So I am not going to let this go down the drain. So after that, I had a turning point, and I picked myself up, and, I got back on the horse, and then I graduated, and I made the best out of the remaining junior year and senior year.
That's great. I think you touched on something that's pretty consistent with some of the other guests that we had on the shows. Like, you have this obstacle, this challenge, and then at some point there's that pivot, there's that turning point where either you find a solution and move forward, or you just figure out, you know what, this is done. This is done for me. It's not what I want to do, and you just kind of pivot and make those adjustments. But like, what do you think were those things that led to you getting burned out? Was it the academics that you were trying to keep up with? Was it the day-to-day grind of just being an athlete, or both? Like, what was that?
Oh man, it was everything. My roommate, we shared a room, not the best. You're going to deal with those kind of challenges too. You're going to have so many roommates, and, you got to learn how to get along with people, and you got to learn how to live with other people. Also, I was burning the candle at both ends. I didn't know how to be prepared and have a daily routine. I learned that, going through that time, preparing myself what's to come for the day, knowing when to get the right amount of sleep, knowing when to rest. Also, my state of mind too. I kind of had this poor me thing going on for a while, and anything that was tough, I was like, poor me. But I kind of came to the realization too, like the moment you go to that place, you lose. Like there is a silver lining in everything. So if you don't know it now or next week or years to come, there's a silver lining to anything. And however you react to that situation, however you think about that situation, that is going to be a character builder for sure. And, school was tough for me. I had to study really hard to get good grades. Um, and just so like every element, there was challenges. And, I was like, I'm not going to let this go to waste. And that just kept pushing me through every day. And I told my mom too, um, I'm going to make you proud because you helped me get this far, and I'm not going to give up on you. So we were kind of each other's, common theme that, all the podcasts we're talking about is have people in your corner. So I learned that too along the way. So you learn all these skills from this transition in your journey from childhood to adulthood. And so, yeah, just remembering those things and knowing thyself.
This brings you brought up something, because I actually have an athlete now who is she's going through that burnt out phase, and you touched on something, because I know like a huge thing when it comes to the ordeal of everything. Back when we were going into college athletics, there weren't like any guidelines, right? Hey, you need, you expect this, you expect that, you expect this, you expect that. Now today we kind of have like, that's why we have this forum, so we can introduce this to athletes that may not know, right? And that there's different avenues. Explain, that recruiting process just a tad bit, from, how did you go? I know you explained to, the grades weren't the best, but explain to me the aspect of how did how did you get from A to B? Did I make that clear?
Yeah.
From like, from that burnt out state, like, hey, I still want to stay in this game. So I'm just going to go through this JC route. Explain that for me.
Um, so I was going to go to college,
Right.
and I was going to go on scholarship. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's what I expected from myself. And I was going to go through it anyway and by any means possible. I did not give myself that option because I knew what I wanted out of life. And so like even on my lowest days of being burnt out, sometimes you just go through the motions. And you got to get it past you. But it's just like, resilience, right? This is what every person deals with in life. It's resilience, and going through this also builds your character. The recruiting process, uh, Midland College softball had a great program, and I was recruited. I know some D1 NCAA schools wanted me, but once they found out about my grades, like they weren't horrible. Like I was like a pretty C student all the way through high school. But we were a team of really, really, really good athletes, and we could definitely compete with the NCAA Division I athletes. It's just we were all in the same position. We just didn't have the grades. And so we were recruited at tournaments, right? So in travel ball, you're recruited at big tournaments, nationals, in just these places. And some of it is political, who what team you're on. It's very much like the working world. You have to network, and you have to be on the right team and be in the right tournaments. And we all have our parents to thank for that too.
So, I mean, you're 100% right. Like it's all political. You got to be in the right place, right time, kind of thing. But if you're not that athlete, or maybe you're not on the best team, or you're not in that environment, like what advice would you kind of have to kind of help anyone listening, whether it's parents or kids, kind of put themselves in those situations? Is it, reaching out to coaches? Is it trying to put together film? Like, what do you recommend or suggest that maybe might be helpful from someone that is not highly recruited?
Wow. So times have changed so much since I went to school. Now there's social media. We used to have to do our recruiting videos on CDs, and we would send CDs to colleges, and you just hope that they opened a package to them. And we wrote letters, like a resume. That's how it was back in the day. But I'm sure the recruiting process is much different now. You can share videos, you can share social media so easily. And I mean, it's marketing yourself. So now I would just tell a lot of parents, it's hard not to brag about your kid, right? But
But you
like,
got to do it. You got to sell
and
them.
being a humble approach, but yeah, you have to do it.
Right.
But yeah, social media is where it is, I think, right now, and writing the letters, and hit them every angle you can. Go to lessons, do everything you can on a personal level as well as the team level, because going to those pitching coaches and hitting coaches, they have networking with those college athletes.
Right.
My dad still does pitching and hitting lessons, and he's very well known, and college coaches go to his house to watch these girls during their lessons and recruit them. So I mean, it's who you know and who you're networking with.
Yeah, and that's I think there's a very important factor in this whole piece of this puzzle that people don't understand or don't realize. And I think it all just comes down to just, you don't know until you know, kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, whoever's listening, if you're not already doing those things, that's some sort of nugget that you can take away to kind of help. I want to transition and just go back real quick, because you talked about, you were getting burned out. What things did you put in place to kind of help you get out of that rut, so to speak? Like you hit a wall academically, athletically. Like what things did you kind of start implementing to change that, to help, get you out of that and transition forward?
I did exactly what the common theme was of all the previous podcasts. I had a group of people in my corner. My stepmom was a previous collegiate athlete, softball. I had somebody over 35 with very good life skills in my corner. We checked in, we did a what's going good, what's not going so well, what can I do better with, and just asking myself, what is my why? Why am I here? Why am I doing this? And just constantly going through that on a regular basis. I also found something that sparks joy, something other than school and softball. For me, sometimes I like to get up and watch the sunrise with a cup of coffee, or just sit at a cafe and write in a journal. I mean, those little things help. and just finding the little joys in life help. I found personal development books, and that kind of like gives you a lot of gratitude and humility. So I just kind of like immersed myself in those things, and just clung on to those things, because when you're at school, especially out of state, you do feel lonely, and you do need those tools to get you through.
Yeah, I agree with you on everything you just said. And I think the huge part, and I hope everybody takes account on, is it's you can't do this life alone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge because you are down in what, Midland, Texas? Did I say that correctly?
Yep.
Texas folks, right? Sorry about that. But you're down there. You're a Cali kid. You go down there and you're alone. All right. You put that in perspective. No friends. You're starting out alone, and the aspect is that you were willing and you were able to reach out and depend on others. I think that is huge, for people or for athletes that, sometimes they have that ego. It's like, I can do this all on myself, but sometimes it's too much. And sometimes you have to depend on that community, whether it's your stepmom, whether it's your father, whatever it may be, you turn to that someone to probably break life down for you just at the basis level at your stage. And obviously did something right because you're successful now in your career, and now you've developed those habits from where you were kind of lost and kind of woe is me, where you had those people just like, hey, giving you those tidbits where now you learned more about yourself, things that you like, things that you don't like. I think that's something that, as college athletes, we don't take an account of that personal development and that personal growth. For me, it was poetry. I didn't know I was, I could write. I didn't know I was into writing. I'm the inner city kid. Who knew that? But that is the plus if we allow ourselves to sometimes lean on others, I think, to really gain more growth innerly, to help us grow into successful people like yourself, so I think that's huge, and thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So what do
Yeah,
you?
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. No, I was like, also having a teammate you can talk to too helps a lot, because they know what you're going through day in and day out. Find a good teammate that's doing well, um, in school and on the field, because you are, it's, you are going to perform like that person performs. If you cling on to the bad kids that are partying and not performing well, not doing good in class, you're going to do that too. So, um, find somebody that's inspirational on your team, and just cling on and foster that relationship too.
I like it. I mean, all of us on this call, we all know it's, different situations, different scenarios. And I hate to bring in gender specifically, but like, female sports and how their interaction with their teammates and coaches and players is completely different from, the male perspective. So taking into consideration everything that you just said, like, what's your thoughts on being a female athlete, female student athlete, kind of going through those experiences and all the things that you just mentioned? I mean, do you feel like that approach was different, or maybe your preparation was different? Like, what was that experience like?
Oh yeah. Um, our first meeting in Midland, we sat down and the coaches said, you know, 10 of you will not be here by the end of the year. By the time you graduate, one or two of you will get pregnant. And
Wow.
these are just the realities of what we had to deal with. And it came to fruition. She was exactly right. She's like, I don't know how many years I've been doing this, but this happens, every time. So, um, you know, we aren't like men's sports where, if there's a pregnancy, you got to stop. Like men just keep on going. You don't lose your scholarship. We have to think about those things. And our coach was like, if you believe in birth control, I will help you. Because a lot of times, a lot of us are on our own for the first time. You do get lonely, and people do find comfort in other people. That's just the reality of what it's like to be in college. Um, it's really where you choose to put your time, right? Your extra time, that's going to make all the difference in the world for college. So, I had a goal my sophomore year that I wanted to be the girl on the team that stole the most bases. So in between afternoon practice and night weights, I would run, and I would run as fast as I could. And a lot of it was really emotional because like that's how I was dealing with my emotions. Um, and so it's where you put your time.
I mean, man, it both of you guys hit some new topics that I can't wait to delve in more on future episodes, but just in the differences between men and women's sports and just what your coaches were, the realities of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that it's negative, but those were hard truths, that
Mm-hmm.
this is what happened. And you're saying yourself, it happened. And to attest how much has changed, this is stuff
Mm-hmm.
that female athletes still have to go through these days. There's a huge difference. And not even going down the road through Title IX and everything. We can create tons of episodes on that, but that's huge. Um, my thing is, and this is the huge question. Now, looking at where you're at right now, and looking at the trials, everything, you knew exactly, you are very open and transparent. It's like, hey, this is where I went wrong. This is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do differently, if anything? Um,
Oh man.
to if you're going back, what would you do?
I would have more of a routine, be prepared in my daily life a little bit better, whether it's meals, always having protein bars in my backpack or protein shakes available. Um, because those little things like sleep and food when you're hungry, you don't always act, like yourself when you're like at your best. Um, I would I would definitely pay attention to my daily what went good, what went wrong, what could be better, and grasping onto those things so I can incorporate, what made me have a good day into future days or into my daily life, knowing, you know, um, how long it took me to take a shower, do my hair, do my makeup, and get dressed. I do that now today, and I know exactly how long I need to back into when I need to leave. And there's far less stress in my day that I'm not rushing around or panicking about those things. And then another thing too, I wish I would have communicated more with my professors, even when I struggled in school. I feel like that's a form of respect for them because, sometimes, you don't show up to class and they're like, where is this kid? They don't know you have a game. And they just think that you don't care about class. Sharing the schedule with them, going up to them and saying, hey, I'm struggling, or coming to them before the deadline and telling them, look, I don't know how I'm going to get this done. Is there any way I can get an extension before it's already expired, before you have to turn things in? And definitely, lastly, I think I would have picked up the phone and just for no reason called my parents and told them I love them and thank you a little bit more often.
Well, that's definitely some great advice. As you're going through that, one question came to mind, and I'm thinking, how much did your, experience, the things that you learned, the scheduling, all those things that you just mentioned, like how much do you think that impacted the woman that you are today as an athlete, still working out, as a businesswoman, working in marketing and things like that? Like how much do you think those routines and sort of things that you've accustomed to as you worked your way through college, like how much do you think that impacted, your daily life today?
Oh my gosh, every day. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't reflect on my experience in college and, what I could do better or what I could have done better back then. And again, how I can implement it into my life today, the things that I struggle with. Um, I just feel like life is um, a constant play of transitions. right? So we have your transition from childhood to adulthood. And then, as women, you have the transition from being a girl to a woman. And then also, a maiden to motherhood. Like there's so many transitions, and it's learning and relearning yourself and how to get through those times as best as possible, and leaning on those people that that'll make the difference and help you get through. Because I just feel like as long as people see your effort and you come to them with humility and respect, you will always get the help that you need.
Did you have a question, Ray? I saw you buzzing.
I just wanted to, the thing is, my last question,
Yeah.
it's how much you listed, how much, like everything that you could have done, how much of an impact do you think it would have had on your college career, in itself? Taking everything that you know now, it's like, man, I could have journaled, I could have done this, I could have done this. How do you think it would have been a huge difference? And I'm talking about the transition from high school to college, whether picking your school, would it made a huge difference with respect to where you landed? And secondly, would it have made a big difference on the college experience itself? If that makes sense.
100%. Um, I feel like I would have been far less stressed, way more productive, way more efficient, a better athlete. Every aspect of being a student athlete, I think, would have been better if I would have taken those little nuggets of knowledge and applied them sooner.
That's great. Obviously, a lot of information we covered in this first 30 minutes, and just want to end off with this final question. But like, what type of advice would you give to any of the young athletes, parents even that are listening, that are kind of getting ready to get into that journey of high school to college and those experiences? Like, what advice would you give them to kind of help them along this journey?
Oh, establish good habits, establish good routines, and then never complain without a solution. Always be willing to offer a solution, or try to try a solution that's offered to you. Um, Also, check in with each other before your kid gets to school. You know, build that great relationship, because when your kid's alone at school and they feel lonely, they're going to pick up the phone to call you. Start that early, um, and open up that line of communication where there is no topic that you can't talk about. Because as a college kid, you face so many things, and there were so many times I wanted to tell my mom or dad about something, and I just felt like we didn't have that relationship where we could have that dialogue.
That's great feedback. So I'll leave it. Ray, do you have anything else that you want to add? That's a lot of great information. Hopefully, we covered a few topics in this brief moment of time that someone can learn from, and hopefully was helpful. But Ray, do you have anything?
No, that's huge. I loved everything that you just spilt out right there, and you just let us have it. And it's hard to be transparent and to be honest with yourself, honest with the past, what are things I could have done better, all the way into now. So I do appreciate the transparency, and I hope everybody can take away from that, because that's huge, especially having a daughter now.
Mm-hmm.
I know that those are things that I'm going to be looking for if she chooses to do sports. There's a high
Mm-hmm.
probability, but
That's great. Well, that's a wrap. Again, Anna, thank you for taking the time out and sharing your story, your feedback, your insight. And if you'd like, if there's any young girl or up and coming softball players, give out your social media if they want to reach out to you directly, if they have any questions, or maybe you can be a potential mentor for them.
Sounds good. My Instagram is bun_bun SP at Instagram. So I'm sure you could put it in the notes. I think I got that right.
Yeah, we got
But
you.
yeah, I'm willing to talk to any young athletes that want to go to the next level if they have any questions, get in contact with Trey or Ray, and then I'm more than happy to have a conversation with them.
Absolutely. Well, once again, thank you again. Lastly, everyone who's listening, don't forget to like and subscribe. Definitely help us out and really get this message out. But until next time, we will see you then.
All right, thank you.
Peace.